A sweltering March day in East Houston. The sky was gray, cloaked in a thin veil of dust, as if hiding something just beneath. A middle-aged man in a faded baseball cap and a dark, worn-out t-shirt slowly pushed open the glass doors of a fast food joint called Chicky Pop. No one looked up. No one said hello. The lingering smell of old grease in the air made him frown. His grey eyes scanned the scuffed floor tiles, then landed on the greasy film smearing the counter, something that should never exist in a brand once proud to be America's cleanest chicken. "I'll have a 6-piece nugget and fries." His voice was low and steady. The young woman at the counter didn't bother to look up. Her attention locked on her phone as she tapped the register. No smile. No thank you for choosing Chicky Pop, a phrase required at every branch. When he received the meal, the receipt was crumpled and tossed over the counter like garbage. He nodded silently and made his way to a secluded table by the window. No one knew that man was Noah Langston, founder and CEO of Chicky Pop, a fast food empire with over 500 locations across the U.S. He was the same man who once stood in his mother's kitchen, frying chicken over and over until the neighborhood lined up for a taste. Every crumb of the recipe was a family memory, and every customer a promise he swore never to betray to protect the quality and the trust. But today, something was deeply wrong. When he opened the box, the familiar aroma didn't hit him. The nuggets looked golden and crispy, but something was off. He picked one up, felt how light it was, took a bite, and stopped cold. No, this wasn't right. The batter's texture was spongy. The sweetness tasted artificial. A plasticky aftertaste clung to his mouth. This wasn't Chicky Pop. This wasn't the recipe he spent 20 years perfecting. It was an imitation, quietly. He lifted the paper liner from the bottom of the box, and his heart dropped. A small packing slip printed with the name Value Poultry Distribution. Not on the approved list, not verified, not part of any contract, and certainly not allowed in any legitimate Chicky Pop kitchen. Noah clenched his fist. He didn't need lab tests. His taste buds were enough. Someone was selling cheap, fake food under the name of his mother. His name. The promise he had made to his customers. Who's sabotaging Chicky Pop, and why? In that moment, under the cold fluorescent lights and the hiss of frying oil, Noah Langston was no longer a CEO, but the young boy sobbing over the stove after burning his first batch of chicken. Only this time, the burn wasn't in the pan, it was in the trust of millions of Americans. He pulled his phone from his coat pocket. His fingers trembled, not from anger, but from a pain too deep to name. Part of him wanted to believe this was a mistake, a mix-up, a wrong shipment. But deep down, his business instincts told him this wasn't random. He opened his camera, took photos of the nuggets, the box, the packing slip, then dialed the number printed on the crumpled receipt. Chicky Pop, Houston East. How can I help you? A lazy voice droned through the line. Noah dropped the customer tone. His voice was firm, unwavering. "This is Noah Langston. I want to speak to your manager, Renee Paulson. Now. A pause. The background music cut out. A hushed silence. Through the glass panel behind the counter, Noah saw a young employee scramble to knock on the office door, calling to someone inside. Moments later, a woman in her 40s stepped out. Red chicky pop polo, hair tied neatly, but her eyes something was off. She held the phone to her ear, scanning the dining room anxiously. "Mr. Langston, I'm Renee. How can I help you?" "Sir, I'm at the window table," Noah said calmly, lifting his hand in a small wave. "Why don't you come over and talk in person?" Her eyes locked with his, and for a brief second, shock flashed across her face like a ghost. She walked over with a forced smile, swallowing the panic rising in her throat. It's an honor to have you here, Mr. Langston. Had I known you would have served me real chicken instead of this imitation." Noah cut her off, pushing the box forward, voice cold as steel. "Sit down. Renee, we need to talk, and don't even think about dodging this." She hesitated for half a beat, then sat reluctantly. Around them, a few staff whispered among themselves. They'd never seen their manager lose her composure like this. Noah placed his phone on the table and hit record. His eyes never left hers. "I'll ask once, very clearly. How long have you been deceiving customers? How long have you been swapping real product with this?" He pointed to the box, then the packing slip. Value poultry distribution glaring back like a sealed indictment. This must be a misunderstanding," Renee stammered, clasping her hands tightly. "We haven't changed suppliers. Everything follows company standards." Noah pointed at the slip. "This is an unauthorized supplier. I know because I approved every single vendor contract for this company." Renee took a deep breath. "The supply chain has had issues. You know that. Since the pandemic, orders have been delayed. Sometimes we have to adapt." Adapt. Noah's arms crossed. His gaze cut through her. "You call using unverified food adapting? The contract clearly states any issue impacting quality must be reported to headquarters. Did you?" She shook her head. Silent. "You chose silence," Noah said slowly, "and secretly changed sources. You thought I wouldn't notice. You thought customers wouldn't know the difference. But I know. I created this flavor. I've lived with it for over 20 years. Renee straightened, her tone suddenly sharper. "Maybe your palate's off today. I assure you, everything meets standards." Noah nodded once, stood up, and tucked the box into his coat pocket. His voice was low, but icy. "Fine. I'll send this in for testing. In 24 hours, I'll have results. And I'm giving you one chance, one to come clean before this goes public." Renee said nothing. "Then wait," Noah said, walking away. "And prepare yourself, because this won't end quietly." He left the restaurant under the bewildered stares of the staff. But he didn't look back. Behind him was betrayal. Ahead was a battle he was ready to fight. Back at the Starlight Hotel. Noah removed his cap, washed his face, and stared at himself in the mirror. His skin was weathered from travel, his eyes tired but blazing with a fire long lost the fury of betrayal and the resolve of a man who would not let anyone tarnish his mother's name or his brand. Chicky Pop wasn't just a business. It was memory. It was blood. He grabbed his phone and called Alicia, VP of Operations, his partner from the very beginning. I need a mobile lab in my hotel room within the hour. And Alicia, find everything you can on Value Poultry Distribution. That name shouldn't exist in our system. On the other end, Alicia responded without pause, already on it. An hour later, Dr. Mia, a food analysis expert, arrived. She wheeled in a high-tech case that looked like a NASA black box. Noah handed over the nugget sample, eyes deadly serious. I need to know what's in this, and if it matches the Chicky Pop formula. Mia nodded. You'll have results in 40 minutes. As the machines began humming like miniature jet engines, Noah checked his phone. A new message from Alicia appeared. Found it. The man behind Value Poultry is Renee's brother-in-law. His chest tightened. Alicia sent more files. Daniel Reeves, owner of a small plant called Horizon Foods, had lost his FDA license last year for food safety violations. Months later, he opened a new company, Value Poultry Distribution, completely outside Chicky Pop's vetted ecosystem. Noah stood by the window, the lights of Houston casting his silhouette in a lonely rectangle on the floor. He closed his eyes. She didn't just break protocol. She let a banned company into our supply chain. Mia called him over. 2 charts glowed on the screen left the original Chicky Pop formula. Write the sample results. Red, yellow, and green highlights crisscrossed like shattered glass. It's not just different. Mia explained. It's unrelated. This isn't a variation. It's a counterfeit. Protein is down 30%. Artificial fillers and additives up 40%. Some preservatives here aren't even legal in the U.S. Long-term use. Unsafe. Noah said nothing, just nodded. His eyes froze over like an icy lake. Thank you, Doctor. You've confirmed what I feared most. After seeing her out, he called Alicia again. His voice was low and steely. They didn't just steal quality. They gambled with people's health to make a buck. We're reviewing every location Renee oversaw, Alicia replied. At least 3 others show signs of Value Poultry usage, while system records still list our approved vendors. Noah closed his eyes, leaning against the glass. His pulse thudded like a countdown clock. We're looking at an organized fraud network, aren't we? Looks that way, Alicia confirmed. They forged orders, faked invoices, split payments. On paper, everything's clean. But once you bite into the chicken, the truth shows up. Noah let out a grim chuckle. Then I'll serve them a taste of justice. He walked to his desk, opened his laptop. Every keystroke declaration of war. I didn't come to Houston for chicken. I came to tear off the mask they've been hiding behind for too long. Before dawn could burn away the mist over East Houston's industrial rooftops, Noah Langston was already back at the doors of Chicky Pop. But this time, he wasn't entering as a silent customer. A light blue shirt, neatly tucked in, dark khaki pants, clear lens glasses, a small name tag pinned to the chest, Jonathan Miller, Quality Assurance Inspector. That was the new disguise carefully arranged overnight by Alicia. The tablet system he carried had been preloaded with covert software, allowing Noah to access all internal data at this location without raising a single flag. As he pushed open the door, the scent of frying chicken was already wafting from the kitchen. The busy rhythm of the morning shift meant no one noticed the man with a clipboard silently taking notes. A young man in his 20s approached him. Name tag reading Marcus. "Morning, sir. You're from Quality Control. Right, I'm Marcus, running the morning shift today." "That's right." Noah nodded. His voice had been retrained to match the tone of an inspector objective. Emotionless. "This is the annual audit. I need to see the food storage area and the order history." Marcus led him to the storage room behind the kitchen. On the way, a few employees cast cautious glances. Most of them had no idea they were in the presence of the very founder of the company they worked for. Noah sat down at the computer. Marcus typed in the password. "We keep all invoices here digitally, but I think Ms. Paulson still keeps some paper ones in her private office." "Thank you. I'll start here. In the meantime, could you bring me samples of all protein items, raw and cooked, for verification?" "Of course. I'll get those right away." As Marcus walked off, Noah slipped in his earpiece and whispered, "Alicia, I'm in. Begin the system sync. Copy." Alicia responded swiftly. "I've disguised the connection as a system update. They won't detect it. You now have access to all orders, stock records, and financial logs from the past 12 months. The screen lit up. Files populated like a maze, but Noah had long mastered the art of finding needles in haystacks. Within minutes, he saw what he needed. "Clever," he murmured. On the official system, everything appeared above board: regular orders from approved suppliers, proper quantities, delivery dates, verification codes. But when Noah opened a hidden folder titled Simply VP, he froze. This was the real ledger. Invoices clearly listed shipments from Value Poultry at just 60% of the usual cost. Delivery slips, signed off by night shift employees, didn't match any records in the corporate database. 2 sets of books, Noah whispered. One to fool me, one to split the profit. Alicia's voice came through the earpiece. "We're reviewing internal camera footage. Some clips show delivery trucks without any Chicky Pop markings. Renee was the one accepting those deliveries." Noah's tone hardened. "This isn't a branch-level mistake. This is organized fraud." He kept digging. Each line of data cut deeper into the company's core. Payments were split, one portion sent to corporate, the rest routed to a personal account under the name Everfield Logistics. Alicia had just found the business registration, another relative of Renee's. "Her whole family's in on this?" Noah asked. "Looks like it. This goes beyond fraud. This is systemic embezzlement." At that moment, Marcus returned with the tray of sample food. His face looked unsure. He didn't know what was going on, but he could feel the air shifting. Thank you. Noah smiled faintly. I have a few more questions about the supplies. Marcus hesitated. That's not my area. Then who handles it? Noah asked. Eyes fixed on him, Marcus paused, then spoke in a lower voice. Ms. Paulson. She receives everything herself. We're told not to get involved. Anyone who asked got their shifts cut or moved. Noah nodded and scribbled on his clipboard. Outside, the sunlight now streamed through the big front windows where, in just a few hours, a quiet earthquake would ripple through Chicky Pop's history. But for now, in the stillness of the storage room, a truth had emerged, and it was just the tip of the iceberg. The computer screen in front of Noah glowed like a circuit board, every invoice, every bank transaction wired to one central hub, Value Poultry Distribution. Noah carefully downloaded all the data to his tablet and connected it to corporate reconciliation software to verify every order code. In mere minutes, the truth appeared like blood under a microscope. 12 branches, all within a 100-mile radius of Houston. They shared 3 traits. Each was managed by a former trusted subordinate of Renee. All had shown suspicious profit spikes in the past 6 to 8 months. All order logs claimed official vendors, but those suppliers hadn't delivered to them in over half a year. Alicia, Noah whispered into the earpiece, his voice colder than the freezer behind him. I've seen enough. This isn't personal misconduct. It's a coordinated embezzlement network. At headquarters. Alicia froze as she read the compiled report. They faked the entire supply chain. On the system, it looks like food came from official vendors, but no trucks were ever dispatched. I just confirmed with our central logistics hub, so that means... Noah closed his eyes, trying to stay calm. For 7 months, tens of thousands of people have eaten products with unknown origins. Not just fraud, not just a breach of protocol, but a collective betrayal not only of the company, but of every customer who trusted Chicky Pop. Noah opened another special folder labeled simply VP. Inside were hundreds of unreported internal invoices. 40% of food cost savings from using Value Poultry had been funneled into a shell company named Everfield Logistics. The legal owner, Renee Paulson. Noah tapped his finger on the screen as if beating the drum for an unspoken verdict. Every discovery felt like a nail driven into the legacy he'd built brick by brick, hand in hand with customer trust. A message from Alicia appeared just as he was about to log off. One more thing. Value Poultry was founded 18 months ago by Daniel Reeves Renee's brother-in-law after his former company, Horizon Foods, was shut down for food safety violations. She used a different name to bypass our audit system. Noah didn't respond. He simply stood up, the air in the room suddenly thick like molasses. His breath slowed. Each heartbeat thudded like a hammer. They didn't just take money. They took trust. He pulled up the live feed from the internal cameras Alicia had accessed. On-screen, grainy footage from various delivery days. Unmarked trucks, dawn light. Renee in nearly every clip accepting goods, signing slips, handing over cash. Noah wondered how many times had employees noticed, how many had tried to speak up, only to be silenced with shift cuts, transfers, or quiet terminations. This isn't bad management. This is criminal enterprise. There was no doubt anymore Renee had built an elaborate scam, sophisticated, layered, protected, and worst of all, it happened right under Chicky Pop's nose without corporate ever knowing. Alicia, I need a full list of the 12 locations. We're going in all of them at once. Otherwise, they'll wipe the evidence. I'll mobilize legal and regional officers. Are you sure you want to move today? I didn't come to Houston to wait. Noah looked toward the storage room window. Slanting sunlight cast long shadows like bars in a prison. But he wasn't trapped. He was unlocking the truth. The door creaked open. Marcus, the young shift leader, stepped in again with another tray, this one containing the raw and cooked protein samples the inspector had requested. Sweat beaded on his forehead, even though the AC was running. These are all the proteins we're using. I also printed recent digital order receipts, but Ms. Paulson still keeps most paper invoices in her private drawer. Noah accepted the tray, nodding. Good work, Marcus. You're fast. I appreciate your cooperation. The young man hesitated near the door. His eyes flicked briefly toward Noah's tablet, still displaying procurement graphs and payment logs. Can I ask, Noah said calmly, how long have you worked with Ms. Paulson? About 9 months, Marcus replied, his hand tightening unconsciously. She transferred me here from the Riverdale branch. At first, I thought it meant she trusted me. Now, I'm not so sure. Noah studied him and gently placed his clipboard on the table. I need to know, has anything felt off here? Don't think of this as talking to a boss. Think of it as talking to someone who actually cares. Marcus stood in silence for several seconds. The room felt like it had stopped breathing. Then he whispered honestly, we're not allowed to ask questions about shipments. Miss Paulson signs for everything herself and always says, don't worry about things that aren't your business. One guy in the kitchen once asked why the chicken packaging looked different than the training video. Next week, his hours were cut to 10. Then he quit. Noah wasn't surprised, but hearing it from a frontline worker gave it a heavier weight. What about you? He asked gently. Did you ever suspect anything? Marcus frowned, then gave a small nod. Yes, but I owe my mum money for her medicine, and most people just keep their heads down. One guy tried to speak up, Carlos, the old assistant manager. He called corporate once. 2 days later, he was transferred, but none of us ever saw him again. Dion, the head cook, said he saw Carlos's uniform tossed in the trash. Noah's heart skipped half a beat. There's a system for covering the tracks, he whispered, almost to himself. There's one more thing, Marcus said slowly. About a week ago, Ms. Paulson made everyone sign a paper. She called it an internal confidentiality agreement. I skimmed it. It said something like, you are not allowed to discuss supply chain or food sources with anyone outside management. If you refused to sign, they'd rotate you out of the schedule to reassess productivity. Noah nodded. This was no longer about invoices or numbers. This had become a story about people forced into silence by fear of losing their jobs, their hours, their peace of mind. "Do you want to do the right thing, Marcus?" Noah asked, for the first time letting his eyes show the weight he carried, honest but heavy. Marcus hesitated. "If I tell the truth, will I lose my job?" Noah was silent for a few seconds, then answered firmly, "You will not lose your job. But if you stay silent, someone else will be forced to keep pretending. Someone else will serve cheap food to families, to children. Which part of that story do you want to be in?" A long pause. Then Marcus nodded. "I'll tell you everything I know." Noah gave a faint smile. Not the smile of a CEO satisfied, but the smile of a father seeing a young man step into courage for the first time. "Thank you. And Marcus, from now on, if anyone threatens you, they'll have to answer directly to me." Noah took photos of the food samples and packed them carefully for the lab. In his mind, the investigation was branching out, but now he wasn't alone. Someone had spoken the truth, and that was the first domino. As the midday sun began slipping through the dusty window panes, Noah moved from the storage area into the staff break room, a small space, barely big enough for a worn-out table and a few wobbly chairs. On the back wall hung a faded poster that read, "Serve with heart. Chicky Pop is always with you." A slogan so ironic, it nearly choked him. Noah began interviewing each employee, one by one, following the list Alicia had provided, 8 in total, and almost all of them recited the same script. "This is a great place to work. Never had any issues with food supply. Ms. Paulson is fair and professional. Nothing really needs improvement, honestly." Noah wrote down every word, never reacting, but he knew the synchronized silence was no coincidence. It was the product of a culture designed to strangle the truth. Not until a small, timid server named Tasha entered did anything shift. She looked 19, maybe 20, plain face, eyes always dropping to the floor. Her name tag was brand new, clipped a little crooked on her shirt. She sat down, gripping the hem of her apron. Noah softened his voice. "Tasha, I'm Jonathan Miller, an inspector from headquarters. This is just an internal survey. Nothing to worry about. Everything you say stays confidential." She nodded, but avoided eye contact. "How long have you worked here?" 3 weeks. "This is my first job. How was your training? Did anything seem off from the company materials?" Tasha hesitated. "To be honest, I don't really have anything to compare it to. I just noticed people always seemed tense. And some things felt weird." Noah looked up. Pen paused. "What kind of weird?" She took a deep breath, still not looking at him. "Like the chicken boxes we get each week. They don't match what I saw in the training videos. The packaging is blank. No logos. The containers are different too. But I got warned the first time I asked." "Who warned you?" "A guy named James. He worked here before me. He said, 'If you want to keep your job, Don't ask questions. Noah nodded slowly. Did James say anything else? Tasha bit her lip. He said someone got fired just for asking who the new supplier was. And the kitchen staff, they call Ms. Renee the one who knows everything. Like, if she doesn't approve, nobody gets to speak. A wave of anger tightened in Noah's chest. He fought to stay calm. Tasha, did anyone ever ask you to sign anything unusual? She glanced at the door, then gave a small nod. Last week, they handed us a paper, called it an internal confidentiality agreement. Ms. Renee said if we didn't sign, it meant we weren't committed to the company. Do you still have that paper? I took a photo and sent it to my friend. Just in case. If you need it, I can get it. Anything else? Tasha. Tasha bowed her head, silent for a long while. Then, in a whisper, every Tuesday and Friday, a man delivers food, no uniform. Truck has no logo. I asked why it didn't look like the one in the video training. Miss Renee said, special deliveries, stay out of it. We weren't allowed to leave the counter during delivery. Who controls the surveillance cameras? Only Ms. Renee. The silence that followed pierced like a needle. Noah wrote his final notes, then looked up at the young girl. Thank you, Tasha. What you just told me could save a lot of people. She looked at him, eyes wide with surprise. I didn't do anything big. You just did something most adults are too afraid to do. You told the truth. As Tasha left the room, Noah closed his eyes for a moment. The picture was becoming clearer. It wasn't just about money or cheap food. It was about a culture hijacked by fear, power, and silenced voices. But now, cracks had formed, and once light gets in darkness, can't hide forever. Noah sat alone in the break room, still writing, but a storm churned inside him. Every piece of testimony from Marcus, from Tasha, was a shard of glass in his chest, not because of betrayal, but because he saw his loyal employees drowning in a system he had unknowingly allowed to exist. The door creaked open. A solidly built man entered, weathered face, grease-stained apron, name tag, Dion. Noah didn't need to look twice. This was the head cook. Dion's gaze was sharp, guarded, but not hostile. He pulled out a chair, sat down, hands clasped, didn't wait to be asked. I heard you wanted to talk. Noah nodded. I do. I'll be direct. What have you seen? And are you willing to talk? Dion studied him for a few seconds, didn't answer right away. Then he folded his arms and asked, Who are you? Noah paused. It was time. He slowly removed his glasses, took off the fake name tag, leaned in. I'm Noah Langston. That was all it took. Dion leaned back slightly, eyes wide. His mouth opened, searching for words, but only managed a raspy, damn. The room froze in a rare moment where surprise melted into understanding and respect. Noah continued, voice steady, steel beneath each word. I heard what Marcus and Tasha said. I saw the invoices. I tasted the chicken. I know how far we've strayed from what this company was built to be. But now I need more, and I need someone brave enough to stand on the side of truth. Dion exhaled, rubbed his forehead. A few moments passed before he looked up. So it was you, the guy who started with that yellow food truck in Detroit. Noah nodded. And the same guy who slept 3 nights in a freezer truck just to deliver the first batch to Wisconsin, because I didn't want my mother's food to ever be called cheap. Dion gave a dry laugh. It wasn't joyful, but it was real. Then you should know your good name, your reputation. It's been used to cover a lot of filth here. Noah's eyes didn't flinch. Tell me, everything. From the beginning, no holding back. Dion nodded and began. Renee came in 10 months ago. She replaced the assistant manager, changed the schedule, started cutting anyone who didn't cooperate. Slowly. Anyone who asked questions got pulled aside. First a warning, then threats. A month later, she upgraded the inventory system, meaning only she had access. We weren't allowed to see the original invoices anymore. If you spoke out, your hours dropped. Your relatives got random visits. And then you disappeared. Noah clenched his fist. Did you ever try to report it? Carlos, the old assistant, sent an email. I called the hotline, but no one ever responded, because Renee had admin-level access to the internal system. Noah said, voice like ice. She blocked every report. Dion nodded, eyes shut. I used to think doing my job right was enough. Cook well, keep clean, but day after day, I saw kids eating chicken that smelled funny, new hires pressured to sign papers. I knew I was wrong for staying silent, but I've got a wife, kids. I was scared. Noah stood up, paced slowly, breathing in the confirmed fury. Then he stopped, looked Dion in the eye. Are you still afraid? Dion looked up. His voice was rough but firm. Not anymore. Then from now on, you're coming with me. Where to? Noah gripped his hand in a firm shake. To clean up the mess, to restore the name, to rebuild what you and I once believed was unbreakable. Outside the break room, the restaurant buzzed with afternoon orders. No one knew that inside. 2 men, a CEO disguised as an inspector, and a cook who'd been silent too long, were preparing for a revolution. With only one weapon, the truth. That afternoon, the Texas sun spilled over the parking lot outside Chicky Pop, Houston East. The air held the pressure of something about to erupt, a tension only someone like Noah Langston, a man forged in fire, could sense. He stepped out of the break room, straightened his shirt and fake ID one last time. In his earpiece, Alicia's voice came through, all teams in position. Legal, audit, media. They're en route to all 12 branches. FDA and local police will assist with the seizure of contaminated food. Noah answered with a single word, execute. I'll light the fuse from here. 3 black SUVs rolled into the lot. 6 people stepped out. Alicia, legal reps, audit officers, and 2 agents from Federal Food Safety Enforcement. Noah removed his glasses, unpinned the name tag, buttoned his collar. No more Inspector Jonathan Miller, only Noah Langston, founder of Chicky Pop. The glass door swung open. The entire restaurant went still. Some customers looked up. Employees froze mid-shift. The order bell shrilled, then was abruptly silenced by a staffer. Noah stepped into the center of the dining room. His voice didn't need volume. It struck like metal on tile. "I am Noah Langston, CEO and founder of Chicky Pop. I am asking all employees to gather at the front dining area within 1 minute. We are pausing operations. All customers will receive a complimentary meal today." The room locked in a stunned hush. Renee Paulson emerged from the office, her face pale, stiff. She forced a corporate smile and stepped forward. "Mr. Langston." "If I'd known you were coming." Noah raised a hand, cutting her off. "You knew I was coming, and you knew why." A security officer stepped forward and gently escorted Renee to the meeting room. This time, her smile slipped from her face like a mask worn too long. Noah turned back to the employees gathered in the dining area, some still wearing aprons, gloves, sweat on their brows. "I know many of you have felt that something wasn't right. I also know some of you tried to report it and were silenced." A few eyes turned red. Tasha sat in the corner, clutching her apron. Marcus looked down. Dion stood in the back, arms crossed, his gaze unwavering. "I didn't come here to punish everyone. I came to end the silence." He nodded to Alicia. She stepped forward and laid documents across a table. "We've gathered enough evidence that this location and 11 others engaged in food substitutions, invoice forgery, and system manipulation to profit off substandard products." A wave of whispers rippled through the room. Some people began nodding, not in shock, but in recognition. They had known. They just never dared say it. "We will be temporarily closing this location for a full inspection. All employees will be granted paid leave. Those who cooperate with the investigation will keep their jobs. Those directly involved will be held legally accountable." A young employee raised his hand, his voice shaky. "But what if I signed one of those forms they gave us? I didn't know anything about the food switching." Noah stepped forward and placed a hand on the young man's shoulder. "If you were pressured to sign, you are not at fault. But if you stay silent when you know someone else was pressured, that's when you become part of the problem." The air was heavy, but no longer afraid. Only truth remained. Inside the meeting room, Renee sat upright, her face pale. In front of her, a lawyer on the phone, Chicky Pop's legal rep, and a screen showing it all: faked invoices, delivery footage, food analysis reports, and bank links to her brother-in-law, Daniel Reeves. Noah entered. He didn't sit. "I don't need a confession. The court will handle that. But I want you to hear this. You didn't just steal money. You stole the integrity I spent my life building." Renee opened her mouth but couldn't speak. The sharp mask of the manager was gone, only a person. Exposed. Noah turned and left. Back in the dining area, the staff still stood there, their eyes confused, fearful, but with a glimmer of hope. "I won't promise to fix everything overnight, but I will promise this: Chicky Pop will never again be a place where silence can be bought with shift hours or threats." Applause rang out, not loud, but real. Tasha wiped tears. Dion placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder, and Noah knew the first battle had been won. That afternoon, a temporary office was set up in the birthday room of Chicky Pop Houston East. Plastic tables covered in white cloth, laptops constantly connected, branch maps pinned to the wall, and a bold red banner in the center. Transparency, accountability, restoring trust. Alicia coordinated from the command post, her voice sharp. Branch 4 legal team finished cross-checking invoices, freezing accounts with suspicious transfers. Branch 7, an employee submitted a complaint with evidence that security footage was altered. Noah stood by the window, clutching a lukewarm coffee. His eyes were tired but unclouded. Every news outlet and financial blog carried the same headline: Chicky Pop Scandal CEOs, Undercover Investigation Uncovers Fraud Network at 12 locations. The PR phone rang non-stop. Press demanded a statement. Shareholders panicked. Customers raged. "We need to release a statement now," the PR director urged. "If we don't control the message, the public will bury us." Noah set his cup down. "There's nothing to control. We're not here to smother the fire, we're walking through it." He stepped into the center of the room and clapped his hands. All eyes turned to him, tense, worried, waiting. "I've read everything. I've seen what the headlines call us. And I'm not denying it. We let the system fail. I'm the founder, so the first responsibility is mine." Silence, tight as a wire. But the difference between a good company and a great one isn't whether they avoid mistakes, it's how they respond to them. Noah looked directly at the communications team. "I want a formal post. It will say 3 things. 1. Acknowledge the breach. 2. Pledge a full investigation. 3. Announce transparent reforms with timelines, roadmaps, and measurable actions. But the stock will drop hard," a financial advisor warned. "Let it," Noah said, without hesitation. "We're rebuilding trust at full price." 2 weeks later, business networks reported Chicky Pop stock down 18%. But positive engagement on social media had nearly doubled. Thousands shared Noah's candid speech, calling him the CEO who owned the mistake. Inside the company, a wave of reform surged. In Houston, the closed branch was completely overhauled. The kitchen now had glass doors. Customers could see the entire food prep process. QR codes were attached to every ingredient box. Scan 1, and you'd see origin, production date, and safety batch. Noah called it the Open Kitchen Initiative. One afternoon, he stood outside the renovated location with Dion and Tasha. The storefront now gleamed with a bold red banner: "Honesty is the first ingredient." Dion, now interim manager, wore a red shirt with golden trim, the uniform of leadership. Tasha, with her assistant manager badge, had her hair neatly tied back. Her gaze no longer darted away. "I never thought I'd be standing here," Dion said softly. "I never thought I'd return from a greasy kitchen either." Noah chuckled. "But here we are, right where we're supposed to be." Alicia approached, holding a fresh report. Repeat customer rate up 22%. App reviews jumped from 2.7 to 4.4 in 10 days. "We're on the right path." Noah didn't respond. His eyes drifted inside toward a little girl accepting a chicken box from an employee, grinning ear to ear. "If that little girl eats my mother's chicken and I'm not sure it's safe, then I don't deserve to be called Chicky Pop's founder." He turned to Dion and Tasha. "This recovery isn't written in press releases. It's written in eyes like yours, hands like yours. We rebuild not through ads, but through real people." In the legal offices, Renee Paulson and her accomplices were formally charged. With over 700 fake invoices, delivery videos, employee testimonies, and FDA reports, the entire counterfeit food network collapsed. But for Noah, the bigger victory wasn't the sentence for the guilty. It was the redemption of those who never stopped believing in what was right. 3 months after the scandal that shook the fast food world, the once shadowed Houston East branch became the pilot site for Chicky Pop's new system. Noah Langston walked into that familiar building like a father returning to a storm-wrecked home, but this time he wore no disguise. Sunlight poured through the windows, illuminating the open kitchen where 3 chefs worked with focus under customer view. Every motion captured on screen above the counter. Chicken weighed, inspected, cooked, packed down to the milligram. The new sign outside read, "Chicky Pop Real, from flavor to people." Dion, now officially regional director, greeted Noah with a firm handshake. Still not used to not wearing an apron. In the corner, Noah saw a familiar face, the cashier who once ignored him while texting. She now wore a management trainee uniform, eyes locked on the employee handbook. He approached gently. "What are you studying?" She looked up, startled, then smiled shyly. "Supply chain protocols. Kinda confusing. What's the most important thing you've learned so far?" She paused, then answered with genuine honesty. "We don't just serve food. Every order is a promise." Noah smiled, said nothing, just nodded and turned away because deep in his heart, that was the perfect ending to a dark chapter. A promise finally kept. Late that night, the city of Houston glowed quietly in yellow light. On the top-floor balcony of the Central Hotel, his residence for the last 90 days, Noah Langston stood alone, black tea in hand, eyes cast toward the east, toward the branch that nearly cost him everything. In the silent dark, he thought of many things: the nights sleeping in his truck, the days of boiling water for noodles because he couldn't afford booth rent, his mother gone before his 10th store opened, and the way she always said, "Quality doesn't live in a recipe." Noah, it lives in the choices you make, especially when no one's watching. He had nearly forgotten that, had almost believed the system could run itself. But one bad nugget, one wrong bite nearly brought down an empire. Now he knew that wrong bite had saved it. The next morning, Harris County Court delivered its verdict. Renee Paulson, 8 years in prison, 3 years probation, restitution and fines. Daniel Reeves, 12 years for food fraud and tax evasion. 7 other implicated managers, 3 to 6 years each, banned from food industry work. Noah wasn't in court. Instead, he submitted a written statement, just 67 words. "I take no joy in seeing anyone behind bars." But I believe responsibility is the seasoning of trust, and no one has the right to flavor that with deception. Starting tomorrow, we will serve again real food by real hands with real hearts. At Chicky Pop's Chicago headquarters, a small bronze statue was installed in the lobby. The inscription beneath read only 5 words: "Integrity is the main ingredient." Next to it, photos of the employees who spoke out not for honor, but as a reminder if they hadn't, Chicky Pop would have fallen. During the first all-hands meeting post-reform, Noah stood on a plain stage, no mic, no spotlight, just him, and over 300 employees in quiet attendance. 6 months ago, I tasted a chicken nugget that didn't belong to us. But the worst part wasn't the fake chicken. It was realizing we had lost our voice. We had made our people more afraid to tell the truth than to serve the lie. He paused. Young eyes glistened. "And it was you, the ones who spoke up, even when your hours were cut, even when you were threatened, who saved the name Chicky Pop. I don't thank you for loyalty. That's no longer enough. I thank you for choosing what's right in a place that used to reward what's wrong." That night, Noah returned home, his suburban house he hadn't set foot in for over 2 months. On the kitchen counter lay his mother's handwritten recipe, yellowed, oil-stained, but every line still clear. He poured a glass of wine, whispered, "I kept it. Mum." Not just the recipe, but the soul of it. And as he took a sip, he knew that flavor had never truly been lost. The crisis hadn't destroyed Chicky Pop. It revealed the cracks and the strength hiding inside. None of them were heroes, but when faced with the choice between silence and truth, they chose the latter, and sometimes that choice, small, dangerous, uncertain, is the one that leaves the richest taste of all.